explain. Were you going to my office to get that proclamation? Were you getting that proclamation now? Okay. I'm gonna be out for 2 days.
Oh yeah.
See, they got to go back in. Because I tried to explain that to her. She wanted to know what is she.
this the Assembly Street post office?
Oh.
Yep.
Honolulu.
I'm not doing that. Too many factors. Too many risks involved in the deal.
No
What is
risk.
this one? What is the hospitality?
You guys wish you had one of these at home. It's very effective. In silencing a room, it works every time. My wife has one at home, I might add, but I don't. Thank you all so much for being here. Madam City Manager, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Good evening, Mr. Rickerman, Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval, Mr. Badura.
Aye.
Mr.
Here.
Vine, Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mayor Benjamin.
Here. Everyone join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend McDowell, would you bless us with a prayer?
Let us pray. Gracious and eternal Creator, for all the things you've done for us, for the blessings of the activities you've allowed us to be about today, for the blessings of conversation and discussion. Touch and invigorate us with your love and with your power. Allow us to sense and yet be sensitive to your touch in our lives. Bless this city of ours. Bless those of us who sit and those of us who in a very real and simplistic way hear the needs crying out in the wilderness. We ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Madam City Manager,
Yes, sir, Mr.
Madam
Mayor.
Clerk, would you please call the roll? I apologize. Have you called it already? We have? Okay, I apologize. Okay, let's do it.
Mr. Mayor, at this time, we would ask council to adopt the agenda with a few changes.
All right.
Under ordinance's first reading, if we could defer item number 40. Under appointments, deferral of consideration of item number 46, the appointments to the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee. And under other matters, the addition of the Millwood Avenue traffic calming measures, the Honorable Mo Badura. And finally, a referral to, we're thinking the Public Safety Committee instead of Administrative Policy, Mr. Mayor. The clerk and I were discussing, but one referral for the speed hump installation policy.
Fantastic. All right, with those amendments, is there a
Second.
motion?
Motion. Yeah. So move. Second.
Second, discussion? Seeing none, we'll move the previous question. The clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura? Mr. Vine? Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Council is asked to approve the March 19th, 2019 City Council meeting minutes.
So move.
So move. Second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Council is asked to approve consent agenda items 8 through 26.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, moving into a period of several presentations, and I will help you as best I can get through these, Mayor and Council. The first being the Peace Officers Memorial Day Proclamation, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin.
We have quite a few this evening, and all of them very significant. So thank you, staff, for pulling them together. This is a proclamation of Peace Officers Memorial Day. We always like to recognize and honor the service of the men and women who wear uniforms and run towards danger when others are running in the opposite direction. So whereas Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week is an observance in the United States that pays tribute to the local, state, and federal peace officers who died in the line of duty, and whereas tens of thousands of law enforcement officers from around the world come together in Washington, D.C. to participate in events that honor those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice, and whereas during Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week, we celebrate those who protect and serve us every minute of every day, and we honor the courageous officers who devoted themselves so fully to others that in the process they laid down their lives. And whereas thanks to law enforcement officers, we have safer streets, stronger communities, and a more secure nation. And whereas the City of Columbia thanks all those who risk their lives every day to protect our world and make it a better place. Now, therefore, I, Stephen K. Benjamin, Mayor of the City of Columbia, along with my fellow members of Columbia City Council, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2019, as Peace Officers Memorial Day in our great city, and urge our fellow citizens to recognize and participate in its observance. Chief? We can clap.
Next item is the Drinking Water Week Proclamation, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin.
Drinking water may seem novel until, of course, you don't have it. And we spent a great deal of time this afternoon talking about another significant investment in infrastructure over the next few years, about $500 million worth of infrastructure to make sure that the people of Midlands enjoy clean drinking water. This is a proclamation that dictates that water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life that we enjoy, and whereas any measure of a successful society, low mortality rates, economic growth and diversity, productivity, and public safety are in some way related to access to safe water, whereas we're all stewards of water infrastructure upon which future generations depend, and whereas each citizen of our city is called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, to practice water conservation, and to get involved in local water issues by getting to know their water. And whereas the City of Columbia recognizes the importance of conserving the scarce resource that is water, as well as creating new, safe water practices for our citizens to follow for generations to come. Now, therefore, I, Stephen Benjamin, Mayor of the City of Columbia, along with my fellow members of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 5th through the 11th to be Drinking Water Week in the great City of Columbia, and urge our fellow citizens to recognize and participate in its observance. Mr. Shealy?
You want to? Thought we agreed that up and down.
Talk about unless there's a crisis. But over the last several years, under the Columbia Clean Water 2020, we've invested about $500 million in water sewer infrastructure throughout the Midlands, and it's been game changing for the health of the city and the future of the city. And Teresa and Clint and Joey and the whole team done wonderful work, and something worth being very proud of. So thank you.
National Preservation Month Proclamation, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin. which will also include the 2019 Mabel Payne Historic Preservation Award presented by Ms. Amy Moore, Principal Planner for the Planning and Development Services Department.
I didn't see Amy. Is she? Why don't you come up from Amy? We are very proud to make a statement in support of historic preservation. The City of Columbia continues to benefit from historic preservation as an effective tool for economic and sustainable development, tourism promotion, community revitalization, to foster local pride and maintain community character while also enhancing livability. We realize that historic preservation is relevant for the City of Columbia as well as for communities all across this country, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and ethnic backgrounds. We realize it's important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that have shaped us as a nation and as a community. And we're proud to proclaim May of this year, 2019, along with our fellow members of City Council, as National Preservation Month in this great city, and that's all to recognize and participate in its observance. Ms. Moore.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here again. Just as a quick plug, we have several activities for Preservation Month. Upcoming are a scavenger hunt, architectural scavenger hunt in the Vista, arts and crafts for kids at the Art Center this Saturday, a movie, Citizen Jane, about Jane Jacobs, who is an urban pioneer, co-sponsored by the Columbia Design League. And we have a preservation bike ride, which keys in with Bike Month, in a couple of Sundays. So we would be delighted if any of y'all would like to join us for those, and of course, all the citizens who would like to come. Last but not least, our Mabel Payne Award. As you know, Mabel Payne was a city employee who was a pioneer in the preservation movement here in Columbia, documenting historic resources and buildings that were important, and we benefit from her work even today. She was a real workhorse. She was very tenacious, and she helped to generate a preservation ethic in the community that lives today. And it is in her spirit of love of the historic buildings we have and their stories, her, quite frankly, blistering hard work, and her sheer bulldoggedness to get the job done. It is in this spirit that we would like to offer the Mabel Payne Award to jointly honor two people, leaders of the Granby Mill Village neighborhood, Robert Guile and Joe Weeder. And before I introduce these gentlemen, I just want to give you just a little background on them. Granby Mill Village, as we know, is very important. It's a mill village. It's extremely intact, and it was built for the workers who worked at the mills at the turn of the century. So the houses together with the mills tell the story of the city's important cotton industry in a very clear visual way. And they basically tell it as a group. Not one particular building is important, but it's all of them together that tell that story. So late 1800s on into the early 1970s, the neighborhood, as the mills closed down, became a little more deserted. But in 72 and 76, enter Bob and Joe, respectively. So the structures have been suffering in the neighborhood. It was inexpensive housing close to downtown. The neighborhood was not necessarily considered to be safe, but these guys worked at the university or were in school, and so they saw an opportunity and saw the history and loved it. And they jumped in, and they invested, and they bought houses, and they got themselves into a whole lot of work over the years, starting with their own homes and then extending to the neighborhood. So they've done a lot, but in the interest of time, I'm going to just hit the keynotes of the things that they've accomplished. They founded the Granby Mill Village Neighborhood Association in 1988. They saved the Olympia and Granby Mills from demolition for more than one developer, finding and supporting qualified developers to adaptively reuse those mills, and we know how important they are today. This includes 701 Whaley, which was the Mill Workers Community Center. They managed to get a National Register designation for the neighborhood, and also, as we know, an Architectural Conservation District here in the city of Columbia. They also obtained city and county support for professionally led planning efforts to guide the neighborhood's future development and protection. They've also worked at branding Granby, designing neighborhood signs and designing and raising money for the textile monument, workers' monument, and the soon-to-appear interpretive signs. And among all that, they worked with people in the neighborhood, helping them understand their houses, how to keep them up, what rehabilitation is when you're in a historic community, what it looks like, and they put their muscle power into it. So they both cite that working with neighbors and former textile mill workers has been one of the most rewarding things about living in that neighborhood, knowing their stories and helping to support those. I'm very proud to offer the Mabel Payne Award to Joe Weeder and Bob Guile. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe.
We have a very slight shift to the agenda, take up item 35.
Yes,
I
sir,
think it's
Miss-
important all of our young people be here for this presentation.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. Under resolutions, we will move to item 35. The resolution number is R 2019. Oh, sorry. My phone ringing. Sorry. R 2019-034, approving the honorary naming of the 2000 block of Marion Street between Elmwood Avenue and Calhoun Street, Majeska Simpkins Way.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. Would you like to say a word? I know we have Dr. Treadwell here as well.
Project, if I could have the children come up, would that be okay?
Go to the microphone, please.
Yeah, come to the microphone.
Great to have you all. I'm honored to address City Council and all the dignitaries in this room. It is risky to give a member of the clergy a microphone, but I promise to keep it under 2
We know
minutes.
it very well. We know it very well.
We are here tonight to pay respect for the great activist Majeska Simpkins. We are here to pay respect to the City Council for the recognition of her work. We are here to pay respect to Dr. Andre Monteith Treadwell, who continues in her aunt's tradition as she was the first African-American student at USC since Reconstruction and continues the great work for justice in the areas of healthcare today. We pay respect to the University of South Carolina students who spent their junior and senior year as part of the urban cohort, a group committed to racial justice in every class, every internship, and every interaction. And we pay respect to the students of the Cutler Jewish Day School. Here are some of them. One who wrote, "How can people not know about Majeska?" They were on a first-name basis. How can people not know about Majeska? She opened a hotel, worked for People's Health, was a banker, was fired as a teacher because she was getting married, fought for civil rights in Colombia. She should be so famous. Children, tonight, your work, Children, tonight, through your work, the City Council answers your question by helping people become more aware of Majeska Simpkins' work. I hope that each of you realize the power you have to make a difference. Our world is not always fair to every group of people, and we must work for change. As Ms. Simpkins famously said, we must pay the world for the space we take. And her niece, Dr. Henri Trodwell, famously stated, right is right, but is not achieved unless a few everyday people stand and say enough to tradition. Children, USC students, tonight your effort is being recognized because you said enough is enough and work for change. I encourage you to make this a lifelong pursuit, and I thank everyone here tonight.
Thank you, Rabbi.
They're so cute. Yeah, it's adorable.
Really, there is a walk, really.
Hands on it.
So cute. Yes, I like that. What? Oh, really? What color were they?
They were brown.
They were brown too. Oh,
It might get too
oh yeah, I like that. We're gonna have to get Robin.
You doing the other one, Pine Street?
Okay.
My shit, man.
Beta. Oh, this is Tamika.
Yeah, that's the real. Right. Yeah, she's gonna do that.
Yeah, it's funny how Tamika names and Oh, you did?
That's fine. That's fine. You know. It's a tree of life, man.
That's a twin.
Where? Where?
That's two, I think, isn't it? They have to.
It's a tree of life, man.
Yeah.
I believe these children are 7 years old, and it shows that you can never be too young to lead. We came out last week and commemorated the horrors of the Shoah, Yom HaShoah last week, and had a chance as a city to continue to mourn together. And we sit this month in the holy month of Ramadan as the followers of the Prophet Muhammad reflect and fast. And when you have moments like that to celebrate the contributions and sacrifice of women like Majesta Simpkins, recognized in our City of Women this year, it shows that you have to lead by being willing to sacrifice and fight for something. And she was a lion. If I was one of the people in this room, and Mr. Davis and others, some of the others studied at her knee. I mean, she was strong like 4-day-old coffee. I mean, she was strong, and as a result, she moved the needle for millions of South Carolinians who didn't look like her, who didn't act like her, didn't serve the same God. She was unique, and so taking moments like that to recognize her sacrifice and for our babies to do it, I think is significant. So, thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you like, we can also go ahead and do resolution number R 2019-040, approving the honorary naming of the 900 and 1000 blocks of Pine Street between Senate Street and Stark Street as Beta Beta Zeta Way.
I want the Delta to make the motion.
I was so moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badora?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. All right. Ladies, let's take a picture. This is Zeta Phi Beta.
Thought we're naming the whole block behind them, no?
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Leslie Hodges Jackson, and I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Beta Beta Zeta Chapter. We've been in Columbia now for over 79 years on Pine Street, and this is really important to us, and we want to thank you because we're honoring all the ladies who came before us to be pillars in the city of Columbia. And again, I just want to thank you. We're just so happy because it's been a long time waiting for this.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time to talk some hoop dreams, please.
Yes, sir. Item 30, the national, oh, I'm sorry, you want to skip 30?
Oh, I apologize. Let's skip one. Oh, bike month. I apologize.
Okay, one more than the hoop dreams, I promise. Item 30, National Bike Month and Bicycle Safety Month proclamation, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin.
The staff did a really good job on all the resolutions, making them all nice and short until this one, Scott. I don't know what happened here. I'm going to work my way through it. The proclamation of National Bike Month and Bicycle Safety Month. Whereas a bicycle is a viable and environmentally sound form of transportation, an excellent form of recreation, whereas many Colombians will experience the joys of bicycling during the month of May through participation in educational programs, races, community events, trail work days, helmet promotion activities, charity events, or just getting out and going for a ride. Whereas the Palmetto Trail attracts trail users each year from all around the state and provides economic, health, and scenic benefits to citizens of South Carolina, Columbia, and the Southeast. And whereas these bicycling activities and attractions have great potential to have a positive impact on Columbia's economy and tourism industry and stimulate economic development by making the city attractive to businesses and citizens who enjoy spending time outdoors and leading healthy lifestyles. And whereas creating bicycle-friendly communities has been shown to improve citizens' health, well-being, and quality of life, to boost community spirit, to improve traffic safety, and reduce pollution and congestion. And whereas May 13th to 19th of 2019 has been deemed to be Bike to Work Week, and Bike to Work Day is May 17th. And whereas the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, bike clubs, schools, parks and recreation departments, police departments, hospitals, companies, and civic groups throughout the city and region will be promoting bicycling as a leisure activity as well as environmentally friendly alternative to the automobile during May 2019. And whereas the City of Columbia adopted the first bike and pedestrian plan on June 2nd, 2015 as a transportation element of our comprehensive plan known as Walk Bike Columbia. And this plan has a goal of creating great places for bicycling with a focus on evaluation and planning, education, encouragement, evaluation and planning, and engineering and enforcement. And whereas the education of bicyclists and motorists as to the proper and safe operation of bicycles is important to ensure the safety and comfort of others, now, therefore, I, Stephen Benjamin, Mayor of the City of Columbia, do hereby proclaim May 2019 to be National Bike Month and Bicycle Safety Month in the City of Columbia, and urge our fellow citizens to applaud as I wrap up this resolution.
Yes, she is. She's a good one. And you know, John bikes to work a lot of times. Sometimes. Really? John, yeah. Or maybe he bikes to work somewhere else. Yeah, he bikes sometimes.
Is there anything that Cardinal Newman has not won this year? Huh? I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Time for the Hoop Dreams and these two historic proclamations for these wonderful teams that
That's from a Cardinal Newman parent, right? Okay.
absolutely did very well together this year. Item 31, Cardinal Newman Varsity Women's Basketball Team Day Proclamation, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin.
Whereas the Cardinal Newman varsity women's basketball team finished this past season with an overall record of 25-4, finishing region play at 8-0, allowing them to earn the title of region champions. And whereas throughout the season, the team produced big wins where they came in second place at the Savannah River Shootout and finished third in the Rock Holiday Classic. And whereas the Cardinal Newman varsity women's basketball team completed their season by winning the SCISA state championship game versus Northwood Academy. And whereas the team was comprised of players Audrey Myers, Haley Laubacher, Maggie Bleak. Thank you. Correct me as I go along, all right? Make sure I get it right. Erin Boyer, Alice Etter, Jasmine Hogan, Megan Holbrook, the name sounds familiar, Ashlyn Watkins, Sarah Dayhuff, and is it Tanaja Kennedy. And whereas the Cardinal Newman women's basketball team was led by head coach Molly Rainwater, assistant coaches Josh Holmes, Kate Reese, and Lily Powers, athletic director Will Udy, and athletic trainer Heather Dubbs, and the leadership of Principal Jacqueline Kaprowski. And whereas next season the team will return with a talented team of players and will look to build upon the success of this season. And whereas the City of Columbia is delighted to recognize the Cardinal Newman women's basketball team for their outstanding work both on the court and in their community. Now therefore I, Stephen K. Benjamin, Mayor of the City of Columbia, South Carolina, along with my fellow members of Columbia City Council, do hereby proclaim May 7, 2019 to be Cardinal Newman Varsity Women's Basketball Team Day in the great city of Columbia. So let's start. All right.
Got the girls, boys too. Girls, boys is next. The boys is next. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I see them girls. I see them girls. It's not the whole team.
Kill him.
And item 32, Cardinal Newman Varsity Men's Basketball Team Day Proclamation, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin.
You guys are getting the money's worth out of me today. I'm excited to recognize the varsity men's basketball team at Cardinal Newman. Whereas the Cardinal Newman varsity men's basketball team finished this past season with an overall record of 25-5, finishing region play at 7-1, allowing them to earn the title of co-region champions. And whereas throughout the season, the team produced big wins against Gray Collegiate Academy and the Bojangles Bash, Berkeley in the Phenom Hoop Report Low Country Showcase, and won the Phenom Hoop Report Winter Classic Tournament. And whereas the Cardinal Newman varsity men's basketball team completed their victorious season by winning the state championship game versus their rival Hammond School, their first title since 2013. And whereas the team was comprised of seniors Bryson Earl, who's attending Hampton University, Chico Carter Jr., who is signed with Murray State University, Malik Tucker, who is signed with Belmont Abbey College, and Terrell Fleming, who has signed with Waldorf University. And whereas the Cardinal Newman men's basketball team was also comprised of players at Shania, did I get it right? That's Shane. It's a typo in here. We're going to get it right. Shane Monsanto, Thomas Tyler, Joshua Beadle, Charles Cooper, L.J. White, Peyton Cooper, Jordan Martin, Jalen Hammond, Salas Christie, and Jack McDonald. And whereas the Cardinal Newman men's basketball team was led by head coach Philip Dieter, along with assistant coaches James Abrams, Michael Culbertson, Jason Joy, and Caleb Scott Cahoon, athletic director Will Udy, and athletic trainer Heather Dubbs under the leadership of Principal Jacqueline Kasprowski. And whereas next season, the team will return with a talented group of underclassmen and will look to build upon their success of this season. And whereas the City of Columbia is delighted to recognize the Cardinal Newman men's basketball team for their outstanding work, both on the court and in their community. Now, therefore, I, Stephen K. Benjamin, Mayor of the City of Columbia, South Carolina, along with my fellow members of Columbia City Council, do hereby proclaim May 7, 2019 to be Cardinal Newman Men's Basketball Team Day in the great city of Columbia, and urge my fellow citizens to recognize and participate in its observance. Come on up, guys. Ivan, Sharon, you want to have a word or something before you leave?
Before we go on.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. All right. I'm sorry, Tamika?
No, I was just to say, I'm sure we will recognize her in the future, but I did want to say, since we're recognizing Cardinal Newman and their great athletes, we certainly have a fabulous athlete, Miss Alex Florence, who is in the back of the room, is part of the
it's not that you're talking about
state. The Alex Florence, who is in the back of the room, is part of the 3A state championship 4x100 meter relay team.
We're gonna put you on the spot.
Cardinal women.
So, Ms. Wilson, I'm sure we'll recognize her and her teammates soon.
Oh, we need to. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right.
Coalition update, Ms. Eleanor Boyd, MPA, Regional Development Director of the Midlands Fatherhood Coalition.
All right. Eleanor, thank you for joining us.
No, you're fine.
Oh, goodness.
Santana. I'm not Eleanor Boyd. All right, well, my name is Santana Hayes, and I'm with Midlands Fatherhood Coalition. I've been working for Midlands Fatherhood Coalition for the past 8 years. First, I want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to present on tonight. In America today, there are approximately 19.7 million children being raised in a father-absent home based on United States Census data. That means that there's no biological father, there's no adoptive father, and there's no there's no stepfather raising those children. That's approximately 1 in 4 children in America today that's being raised without a father. We all know that's a grim statistic, but what does that really mean? What are the implications behind that? Children that are raised without an active and engaged father are 4 times more likely to grow up in poverty. They're 7 times more likely to become a teen parent, more likely to face abuse and neglect, more likely to suffer from obesity, 2 times more likely to actually drop out of high school. They're actually also more likely to commit crime and go to prison. The list of negative possible societal ills can go on and on and on. Millen's Fatherhood Coalition works every day to address these issues by providing comprehensive fatherhood services to fathers. Being in Columbia, we believe this is an advantage because we know how hard the mayor and the city has worked to create a city that's full of creative and innovative and appealing individuals, an environment that really allows for people to thrive. Last year at Millen's Fatherhood Coalition, we were able to serve 1,183 fathers. The impact of that on children is actually 2,648 children that we're actually able to impact because of our services. So we know that strong fathers help to make strong families help to make strong communities, and strong communities ultimately create a stronger Columbia. What we do and how we do it. So fathers is our focus, obviously. Because of this, we get dads from all walks of life, from all zip codes. We don't focus on whether it's a black dad or a white father or a Latino father. Our main focus is once this individual leaves our program, we want them to be a better father. Research has shown that fathers are actually spending 3 times the amount of time raising their kids in 2008 than they were about actually a generation ago. So what that tells us is that fathers are actually more involved, more engaged. But out of the fathers that were polled in this Pew study, 40% of fathers still felt as if they didn't have really everything they needed to be the best parent possible. So what we find at Millen's Fatherhood Coalition is some fathers come to us in crisis mode, but some guys just come to us because they really just want the support that we're able to offer. One thing we say is our dads, they don't really come to us looking for any type of handouts, but what they do want is support, relevant information, and a place where they can feel that they're a part. Over 600 of the guys that we served in Columbia in the past few years came voluntarily to our program. About 400 of those guys came actually by way of court through our ATI program, which is Alternative to Incarceration. We also have a program that specifically serves young fathers, fathers that are 24 and under. Actually, one of our caseworkers spent a good portion of his morning about 2 weeks ago at a local high school with a 15-year-old who had just become a father himself. He was having a difficult time dealing with, just the stresses of becoming a new parent. This is the type of work we do every day to make sure that fathers have the resources and the tools they need to become better parents. How do we do it? We have a curriculum that's actually evidence-based. It is a 24-week curriculum that we cycle about 2 times throughout the year. We do classes on healthy relationships, 6 weeks on healthy relationships, 6 weeks on economic stability, 6 weeks on parenting, and we also do 5 weeks on men's health. We make sure that we're covering all the bases that a father could possibly need when they come to our program. We also look at the economic stability and the actual earning potential for fathers who come through our program. One of the areas we work on, like I said, is economic stability. We provide a week-long employability job boot camp for fathers that need employment or they just want better employment. In one of the particular zip codes in the city, once fathers completed the job boot camp, 84% of those individuals actually gained employment. In 2018, we partnered with Millen's Technical College and sent about 12 of our young fathers through a program that gave them a pre-manufacturing skills training. That actually was OSHA certification, Six Sigma certification, along with a few other certifications that would give them just a head above the other individuals who are applying for these jobs. We understand that income volatility is a real thing, and we work to make sure that our fathers are able to benefit from the many opportunities that are here in Columbia. The main reason we do though, at the end of the day, is really because of the children. Our biggest motivator is based on the fact that we know that when fathers win, children win. Children provide for our fathers a sense of purpose that supersedes career ambition, civic engagement, and any other potential competing passion. Our organization provides father-child activities on a monthly basis. In 2018, about 450 children participated in our father-child activities hosted by Midlands Fatherhood Coalition. 36% of our fathers who had previously reported negative relationships with their children were able to improve those relationships by the end of 2018. We want to make sure that all children in Columbia have an even playing field by ensuring that they have emotionally, financially, and socially stable fathers in their lives. We know Columbia is a place of opportunity, and we want those children, every child, to have access to those opportunities. In closing, one thing I want you all to remember today is the reason why we do this work is really to secure the future by impacting the fathers and in turn impacting the children. We do this for a little girl named Aaliyah who was 2 years old when her father first came to see us. He was an Army vet who had just done 2 tours of duty. He was not happy with the situation his child was living in with the other parent, and he just wanted to provide his child with a better opportunity at life. He began working on our program, and over time, he actually was able to complete his bachelor's degree. He actually went on to get married to a wonderful young lady. They had another child. Today, he works for the state. His wife works for the city, and he also was given full custody of his 2-year-old child. That child today now lives in a happy, healthy family, and her future is going to be completely different because of her father coming and taking advantage of our services that we provide. We want you all to understand that Midlands Fatherhood Coalition is woven into the fabric of the city of Columbia. We believe that our work is critical to making this city the great city that we all know it to be. We need support from the city of Columbia. We need the city behind us, like the neighboring counties have done for Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, to make sure this organization is able to go forward and do the work that we've been doing for years to come. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I'd say, and I don't believe there's a dollar better spent anywhere in the state, maybe this country, than it's been spent with the Midlands Fatherhood Coalition. You guys do great work, excellent work, and it is it's not only an investment in the here and now. It's actually we're saving a bunch of money. Some of you who have the collateral material in front of you, just in 2018, taxpayer-funded incarceration costs saved through the Jobs Not Jail program, almost $3.5 million. I mean, so this is money well spent. We all may not know that the program statewide is seeing a significant budget cut, and which is, I think, as wrong-headed as we could possibly see, and other counties have stepped up and supported the coalition. And I believe that we, as a city, should as well. I've been in communication with the chairman of the county council, asking him to partner. We think the school district should also step up, and they'll start that conversation. But the work that you all do is amazing, amazing. And thank you all for what you continue to do. And looking forward to spending some more time working with you at some long-term solutions that allow you to continue doing the great work that you're doing. We're blessed to have you. So thank you so much. Ms. Devine?
Well, I just wanted to say that I actually, the Fatherhood Coalition was one of my charities that I donated to today with Midlands Gives, and I did it in memory of Ford Mason, one of our amazing community leaders who we lost the last couple of weeks, but I did not realize until he passed how much work he did with your organization, and so I certainly wanted to give in his memory, but I will continue to support you guys.
Thank you so much for your support. And we have some individuals from our organization, some fathers and staff as well. I'd like for them to stand up.
Yeah, brothers. All right.
Good job.
Thank you, ladies.
Let me just add, I
Please.
couldn't have agreed more with the mayor and Tamika. I think what you guys do are extremely important, not for the city itself, but every future for every child that is coming up. And it's important that they know their father, of course, and it's important for the fathers to know their kids. But just the ability to give those children all that they can do in life, I think that's important. And I fully support, any kind of funding that you guys may have. If we can work it out with the budget, we'll be glad to do so.
Thank you. You'll keep leading brothers, thank y'all for being great role models for so many of us. You're not being role models for anybody else. You're helping us be better dads too. So thank you. God bless you. Angela, not Angel. Thank you so much as well, brothers. Thank y'all. I'll see y'all on June
15th.
Although, you sure it's not the 16th? Are you sure? I finally committed to doing my 5K with the Midlands Fatherhood Coalition. Y'all pray for me. Pray for me.
You doing it
Pray for
shirtless?
me. So,
Is he doing it shirtless? Y'all know that was his New Year's resolution 2 years ago.
5K, okay. Looking forward to seeing you there.
no, thank you, Mr. Davis. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Let me just echo what everybody is saying, and you know we've had some conversations, and the last impression I had was the ceremonies at the State House, and to see the number of fathers and volunteers, not only from here in the city, but from all over the state. And the good thing about it too is that you serve families and impact young men in rural areas also. And that's the one thing that's very important, that everybody you serve are from various backgrounds, but the goal is the same. And that's, the partnership, friendship, helping to deal with goal settings and those kinds of things to build character. Yes, sir. And really support it.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
All right.
Okay. All right, Ms. Wilson.
The Movers to Mom Partnership, the Honorable Edward H. McDowell Jr.
Thank you.
Mr. McDowell.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Mayor and other fellow members of council, on a cold Friday night in January, tragedy struck. 411 persons had to be relocated out of their apartments, their homes, into places that was dubbed new spaces. 269 families had to be relocated to 9 separate hotels. We presently have 25 families currently housed in one hotel. 169 families have been relocated and is in permanent housing. What we've tried to do here these last 6 months, and particularly this last month, is to not forget those persons who had to turn over a new leaf. A new leaf, what does that new leaf represent? Items, clothing, shoes, everything that is needed to start over again. We tried very diligently to make sure and ensure that every family was cared for emotionally, physically. Pastors were gathered together, huddling with families to emotionally hear their vicissitudes. And a lot of folks struggled with that. The internet and the phones were ringing abuzz because everybody wanted to help. And you did. And I am grateful, and that team of ours is grateful for your assistance. Several major things happened. We got folk into new places. Children were given backpacks to carry when they were in other geographic locations for food. It worked. I think you know that in just a few days, we're going to celebrate Mother's Day. Let me say it before I forget. Happy Mother's Day. In collaboration with two men and a truck, we started a conversation with them. How can we best fill the needs of our families who are still in hotels? For a month, we talked. For a month, we strategized to sort of get some semblance of what could we do. And of course, two men in a truck, Nikki Moy was our contact person over there. And we decided to deliver Mother's Day gifts to our families who are still in hotels. That doesn't mean a lot when you're living in a 6-bedroom house, but when you're in a hotel room and you've been there for a number of weeks, it feels good when somebody brings you a basket and say, "I love you, happy Mother's Day." So what we decided to do was to put boxes in each one of our departments here in the city. We didn't want money. We didn't want gift cards. We wanted things that folk could readily and immediately use when they got into permanent housing. You see some of those boxes here today. So on Saturday, we are going to be delivering boxes. We've already got them packed. Two men in a truck is going to help us. Amen. And if you aren't doing anything on Saturday, come and help us deliver. We're going to give each mother a love box, a box filled with energy, a box filled with the kind of respect that is needed for each one of these families, and of course a box filled with love items. This city has done a tremendous job in assisting and helping with our families. So we ask you as you celebrate your mama's birthday, whether living or has transitioned, I'll celebrate my mama's Mother's Day on Sunday, 87 years old. And I thank God for every year. So as you celebrate your Mother's Day, please remember the families that are still huddled together. Amen. In that room. And the only love that they get sometimes is the love that we bring to them. So keep us in your prayers. If you've got an item to donate, the box is over there. If you got monies to donate, just give it to me. I'm just kidding. But please, we need your help, and particularly, we need your prayers, because children have been dispersed, relocated, other school districts. Please. So, in a continuing effort just to be who we are and who God has charged us to become and to be, happy Mother's Day. And may your Mother's Day be just as bright as the ABC mothers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, brother. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Reverend McDowell. Look forward to supporting the Movers to Moms partnership. All right, Madam City Manager.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, at this time, we would ask that you open a public hearing for the fiscal year 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan for Community Development. Ms. Gloria Saeed, Director of Community Development, will give some opening comments.
Good evening, Mayor Benjamin and members of City Council. I will be brief.
Mr. McDowell, Movers to Moms, just use up all your time anyway.
Before I begin, I would like to say, for those of you who do not know, that the City of Columbia met timeliness last Thursday. So we're very excited about that. It's been a long 2 years, but I would like to say thank you to all those city departments and those sub-recipients who did what we needed them to do so that we could meet timeliness.
Thank you.
Amen.
So here we are again. The City of Columbia Community Development Department is presenting its fiscal year 2019-20 draft annual action plan. You should all have a summary in front of you. This information today, it represents the 5th year of the city's 2015-2019 consolidated plan. The action plan is the City of Columbia's application for U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development entitlement grants and identifies the proposed programs and projects to be funded during the city's fiscal year 2019. Working in collaboration with partners, neighborhoods, and community stakeholders, the action plan identifies how the city proposes to utilize these funds to address its community development, housing, and public service priorities and goals as described in the executive summary. Recommendations for funding CDBG activities and HOPWA program awards were ratified by the Citizens Advisory Committee on March 12th, 2019, and I take this opportunity to recognize the CAC members currently. That's Ms. Ursula Polaris, Ms. Patricia Brown, Mr. Marvin Heller, and Ms. Trey Taylor. If any of them are here in the audience, would you please raise your hands? So, thank you all so much for your hard work. In addition to that, we want to again thank them for their dedication to the NOFA process, because it is a long process, and they have helped us to ensure that their quality activities are funded each year in order for us to reach our consolidated plan goals. So there are 3 HUD entitlement programs. They are the CDBG, Home, and HOPWA programs. The Community Development Block Grant, there's $1,812,493 in CDBG revenue available for project activities. That is a 22.92% decrease from last year. And the reason for that is because we did not have any prior year funding. We had very little prior year funding to add to this year because we spent all the money. So it's a good problem.
It's a good problem.
Yeah. We received $1.43,436,000 for new entitlement for this year. There's 119,457 prior entitlement in our local accounts as well. And also we estimate a $650,000 program income revolving loan fund. So that totals the $1.8 million that we spoke about earlier. The primary objective in this development of viable urban communities through the provision of decent, affordable housing, improved living environments, and expansion of economic opportunity. Funds are intended to serve low and moderate income residents in areas and also eliminate slum and blight or eliminate an imminent threat of health and safety due to a disaster. CDBG activities included in the fiscal year 2019 action plan addresses community development priority needs outlined in the consolidated plan. Projects include public services, public facilities improvement, and affordable housing activities. You can see those items in the information you've been provided in the summary on page 4.
Our Home Investment Partnership Program has $813,486 in revenue available for 2019 projects. This is also a 6.24% decrease, and that's mainly because the entitlement funded this year is lower than it was last year. So what we're receiving this year is $563,486, plus we're estimating $250,000 in program income for our home revolving loan fund. The home program is dedicated to increasing the availability as well as the access to affordable housing for low-income households. Activities include affordable housing loans, residential acquisition, rehabilitation, and new construction. The last entitlement is the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, also known as HOPWA. There's $1,475,403. I think I got that mixed up, but anyway, you know what I'm saying. $1,475,403 in revenue available for 2019 programs, and that is an increase, so we did receive an increase this year in entitlement dollars. HOPWA funds may be used for a wide range of housing, social services, and program planning and development costs for the benefit of individuals living with HIV, AIDS, and their families that reside within the Columbia MSA. Those counties include Calhoun, Fairfield, Kershaw, Lexington, Richland, and Saluda counties. Project sponsors being recommended are the Columbia Housing Authority, PALS, the Cooperative Ministry, Midlands Housing Alliance Transitions, Upper Savannah Care Services, USC, and also the University of South Carolina Department of Medicine. Citizens have the opportunity to comment during the city's comment period, which began on April 8th, 2019, and will end on today, May 9th, 2019. The city's annual action plan submission is due on May 15th to HUD. In addition to tonight's public hearing, a public hearing was held on April 11, 2019 at Wood Forest Community Development and Education Center, located at 3730 North Main Street, Suite D, here in Columbia, South Carolina. The action plan, along with citizens' comments, will be submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development prior to May 15th. All public comments can be submitted to the Community Development Department, located at 1225 Lady Street. So at this time, I'd like to know if you all have any questions about the information that we presented to you.
No. Thank you. Making timeliness. Big deal. I think we're at public hearing now, right? Yeah. So we're going to call this public hearing to order. Is anyone here to speak in favor of, against, on the report? That means you're very popular, Gloria.
That's a good thing. We do have several people in the audience.
I do want to thank the Citizens Advisory Council for your leadership and your help, continued help.
Thank you.
These dollars are making a big difference. Making a big difference in the quality of life for the people of the city and region. And so much more to do, but thank you for your leadership.
Thank you very much.
All right.
So do you want me to make a motion?
All right. Is there a motion?
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the previous question on approving the annual action plan for community development. Madam Clerk?
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman? Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Moving into a period of ordinances, second reading, ordinance number 2019-012, amending the 1998 Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia, South Carolina, Chapter 8, Environmental Health and Sanitation, Article 4,
May I move the
pollution.
approval of the smoking ordinance and vaping ordinance?
Moved by Mr. Duval, second by Mr. McDowell, I believe. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rickerman? Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Ordinances first reading, item 39, ordinance number 2019-025, providing for the issuance and sale of the City of Columbia, South Carolina special obligation bonds or notes, the Hospitality Fee Pledge, Series 2019, in an aggregate principal amount of not exceeding $4,200,000 $200,000 in order to finance the acquisition, renovation, and equipment of certain capital
Is there a motion?
projects.
So
So
moved.
move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman. Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Badura.
No.
Mr. Vine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Item 41, ordinance number 2019-033, authorizing the city manager to execute a 12th amendment to purchase agreement between the City of Columbia and Bright Myers 2001 LLC for the sale of 5.97 acres or thereabouts at Capital City Stadium.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moving second discussion. There was robust discussion as matter and the legal implications, and that it's an understanding that there are significant issues to work out between now and a potential second reading. We task staff a lot, but there's a lot of work to get from here to there. What's the time frame? October 31st. October 31st. Yeah.
October, isn't it?
Between now and the next meeting. Between now and the next meeting. Yeah. Yes.
We
Was
have
it
to
there?
close by the end of the month.
Was it their request for an extension?
That's what this is.
That's what this
That-
is.
that's,
Oh.
yeah. So, but it would have to be resolved by the end of this month, Daniel.
All right.
Extension would have conditions.
Yeah. So, and we can brief you on those. With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman.
Understand? Sure. Understood.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Badura.
No.
Mr. Vine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Item 42, under resolutions, resolution number R 2019-020, authorizing notice of the 2019 election for council members from districts 2, 3, and 1 at-large
I
seat.
move approval.
Can we just extend terms by 2 more years?
Okay, do it.
Sounds good to me.
So if
Second.
if we didn't do this, could we not have elections?
Why not?
You see how silly we could be when we're not on the ballot. We could be pretty doggone silly, can't we? Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, move the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman. Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Badura.
Aye.
Mr. Vine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis. Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. And I'm sorry, I don't have the resolution in front of me. Filing period will we determine? It's pushed back?
It'll be later in August.
later.
It'll be close to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay,
Later in
okay.
August,
Okay.
ending, I believe, on September 7th. There.
Okay, so a little bit later this year than normal. Okay.
September August to September the 5th, I believe it is.
That's actually
It's Friday
90 days.
in September.
Right?
it's not 90 days filing.
No, it's about a 2-week filing period.
Figure that. Let's rock and roll. All right.
18
Yeah.
days, about 18
Aye.
days.
I think I voted already. Let's keep it going. Thank you.
Item 43, resolution number R 2019-026, authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase agreement between the City of Columbia and Honolulu Rapid Transit Company,
I
Limited,
move
now.
approval.
So move.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Move the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman. Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Badura.
No.
Mr. Vine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Item 44, resolution number R 2019-038, authorizing condemnation for easement acquisition for sanitary sewer and
Is
access.
there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry. Property identified as 4632 Leela's Court. Moved and seconded. Discussion. Move the previous question. Clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman. Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Badura.
Aye.
Mr. Vine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis. Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
And item 45, resolution number R 2019-041, authorizing the purchase of approximately 11.64 acres on the western side of Gills Creek Parkway at Pelham Drive, Richland County, TMS number as outlined, from Franklin D. Owen III and all, for a stormwater utility site. I would remind the mayor and council that this does provide us with some wetlands credits, and we think this is a... Huh? Okay. It's good
Is there a
mitigation.
motion?
Good
Yes,
mitigation
so
credits.
moved. Second.
Moved, I think, moved by Mr. Rickman and seconded and motioned by Mr. Madura, but first, second, with the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman. Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Vine.
Aye.
Mr. Badura.
Aye.
Mr. Davis. Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A period of appointments holding item 46, moving to the Board of Zoning Appeals, followed by the Citizens Advisory Committee for Community Development, the Climate Protection Action Committee, and the Food Policy Committee. Miss Ashley Jenkins.
So how many slots do we have available, Ashley? 2 new appointees? Yes, sir, Mr. Rickman. Get your microphone, Daniel. Can't hear you, brother.
Talk up, Daniel.
We need to make sure that we look at is that each district has a representation on the zoning board. I think it's very critical that we have that. And currently, District 1 has 0, District 4 has 0. You have 2 applicants for District 1 available now. I think I'm going to have to find somebody. There is a young gentleman, and I would be willing to do a little horse trading here.
So can we just do a district, because I had a nomination. I wanted to nominate Gail Baker.
Baker.
And then hold the other one.
Baker's on here.
Yeah,
Gail Baker.
what I was going to ask,
Yeah, that's mine.
so there's a young gentleman who lives 2 blocks outside of the district. And he could fit the outside. He's just somebody I think that y'all would be very pleased with, and would do a tremendous job. He applied to be on the planning commission and he couldn't, so I'm going to ask him to put that in.
Let's just
So
hold one, let's make one appointment now, and I would move the appointment of Gail Baker.
But he has an active
Okay.
application to serve on the planning commission,
yes.
so he can't be included in the motion.
ask.
Oh, you want to ask him first?
No, I mean, I know,
Interested, okay.
yeah.
Let's go ahead. Let's go.
Is that okay? I mean, I didn't know if I needed to put in a new app.
That's fine.
You can do the motion.
So
He's an
John
active-
Gregory.
So it's been moved to appoint Gail Baker and John Gregory.
One
to the-
question.
Yes, sir. Sir?
Has that guy been notified?
John Gregory?
No, Reggie.
He has.
Okay.
They've discussed it with him. And
All right. Move the nomination of Ms. Baker and Mr. Gregory.
Vote to approve.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Baker.
Mr.
Who
Baker.
made Clint, where's Clint? You're rubbing off on me, man. You're rubbing off on me. Motion by everybody. Ms. Devine,
Unanimous.
seconded by Mr. Rickman. With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman.
Aye.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Badura.
Aye.
Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mr. Badura, did you vote no?
Aye.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You got used to hearing no.
Oh, it
didn't
sounded
you?
like no. I thought he said no, too.
It was 3 no's, wasn't it? Yeah. You want me to say no?
It sounded like you said no.
Should
All
be
right,
my license plate, Dr. No.
Community development, where we now, Ashley?
Citizens Advisory Committee.
All right.
So for that one previously, it said 2 appointments, but it's now 3 because they had a vacancy that occurred in April. Someone's term expired, and they're not interested in
Reapplying.
being
Who that is?
reappointed.
This is one of the rare places we actually have people from every district represented currently.
I'll make a motion to Wanda
Yes,
Cannon.
sir.
Who was the person that?
Which additional, Ms. Brown, stepping off,
Cannon?
Tag's,
stepping off?
Tag's thing, expired.
All right.
I'm sorry.
So, Alderman
Which one did you
Brown,
nominate?
Cannon.
I didn't nominate anybody.
Foster.
Mo nominated Wanda Cannon.
So Tag expired, and then Walter Marks, I think his term, he resigned.
Walt Knox.
And then, hold on, you actually have an updated version outside of the memo. That's a separate sheet that looks like this. It should be right behind the Citizens Advisory Committee memo.
It's after
Walter
the
Walter
application.
Marks is the one whose term just expired. Then there's a vacancy for District 4, and then also a vacancy can be appointed by the mayor.
So I don't get an appointment?
You have one.
You
You have one,
two
it's
on
Walter
here.
Marks. He literally just finished a term, so that's why they hadn't updated it yet on
Oh,
this.
I got you. So I get an appointment or no?
You do? We
All
have
right.
3 total.
Wanda Cannon.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a Mr. Bedore appointment, a Mr. Rickman appointment, and a mayor appointment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And Walter is not up for re-election, right? Or re?
He
Okay.
is not, and he doesn't want to pursue another
I think
term.
he's done good. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna defer till the next meeting, make my appointment.
Okay.
Me too, since I don't
Okay.
have anybody, applicants.
So Mo made a motion, we vote on his?
You moved to
Okay, so I've got to
defer,
come back with one, too.
Mayor,
I'll second Mo's.
you moved to defer, Mr. Mayor.
His appointment.
My appointment.
Oh,
So
yeah,
Ms-
we're gonna
Mr.
approve
Badur's
mine and-
nomination, is there a second to Mr. Badur's nomination?
Second.
All right,
I'd like to
You don't, you don't have one, Sam?
defer for next time,
You don't have one?
no.
I don't either.
You don't want to be left out.
You're agreeing with the deferment.
Okay.
with the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Yeah.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Badura,
Aye.
Ms. Devine, Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
So for Climate Protection Action Committee, it differs from the original one that was online because we actually need to reappoint 2 appointees, John Epting and Louis Dussault, and then we're appointing 1 new person.
You need one more new person?
For the new person, I'd like to recommend Dr. Z, Lori Zulkowski.
Okay.
She made the presentation at World Climate Day last week, or whatever that thing was.
Is that you came back raving about? Is that who you came back raving about?
She was good.
Okay. And then Louis was my appointment, so I definitely want him reappointed.
So good, so
Reappointed.
those two,
So the
Reappoint.
reappointment of
John Epting and Louis Dussault.
Dussault, and the
Dr. Z is
appointment
awesome. She's awesome.
of Lori Zawowski.
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
she's impressive.
She really is.
All right.
I'm good with that. John Upton is still gonna serve some more? Thought he was ready to resign. Okay.
He does.
The reappointment of John
good.
Epting.
No, I like him.
Louis
I think he should
Dussault,
stay.
and the appointment of Lori Z.
All right,
Yes,
moved.
ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, move on the following names.
All right, moved, is
Second.
there a second, there's a second, any discussion? Move the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Badura,
Aye.
Ms. Devine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
So the Food Policy Committee was deferred last time because you all didn't have the comprehensive memo. And there were only 3 applicants last time, and we need to fill 4 slots. Now there are 4 applicants to fill if you so
Can
choose.
we re-advertise? I mean, you needed 4 applicants. I mean, you need 4 appointments and you have 4 applicants.
Right, now we do. I'd be more than happy to re-advertise it, whatever you all would like to
Move to
do.
defer.
And if you have any
Mr. Mayor.
suggestions.
What exactly are you looking for, Mo?
Jimmy
Food
Williams.
policy.
You got some substance there. We can hold off, let's plan to move.
Move
If
to
you're gonna,
defer.
if you're gonna repost, we'll post it for 7 or 10
Okay.
days, whatever it takes. We need to go ahead and act on this next meeting, but post it for 7 more days or something
Okay.
like that?
I
if you
think
want?
that's
Okay,
fine.
yeah, push it out
Okay.
to folks you want to consider, that's fine.
I will do that.
Do you need this back?
Yes, I do need those back.
Yes, sir.
Just one moment.
Oh, you need the book back?
Please.
I'm going to
Yes, sir.
provide y'all's updates each week.
Yeah, say a
with
word? You got a
Each
word?
council
Yeah,
member.
absolutely, yeah.
This was good, actually.
Thank you.
Mr. McDowell.
Mr. Mayor, I do want to recognize Nikki Moy. She's our person at 2 Men in a Truck. Stand up, Nikki. She has been very, very helpful. Thank you very much. She had to go several places tonight and do some things at the job. So thank you for being here with us and 2 men in a truck. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. All right, so, any matters considered during the work session that need to be taken up right now?
No, sir, you do have 4 additional
I
items on the
apologize,
other matters.
I
Yes,
thought
sir.
Mr.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
I
Item
thought Mr.
51.
McDowell was putting a bow on it for us. Yeah, please.
Okay, item 51, the 5 Points Association Clean and Safe Program funding request, the Honorable Daniel J. Rickaman. And if I might, Mayor Benjamin, for item 52, the Black Expo funding request, the Honorable Tamika Isaac Devine, I'd just like to say at the offset, the staff and I have, researched both of these items as far as, just previous discussions about them, and did not have, we found the intent, we believe, of council in the minutes, but there were no formal motions provided for both of these items. So that would be the purpose of these items. In addition to that, in your motions, I would just ask that council authorize the manager to determine the proper funding source. But we need a motion that gives clarity to your intent with the amount of funding for each.
So, item 51, the 5 Points Clean and Safety, if you remember back in September, we committed to a 5-year, $125,000 a year for the clean and safety out of hospitality. And as part of that, the 5 Points Association, we would redivert the money they're spending currently to beautification projects, which also would include lighting up the alleyways and other items in an overall plan that they would move forward. And the reason this is back in is that I thought we had made this motion correctly, and when we went back to the minutes, we talked about it, but we actually never moved forward on it. And so we want to get that formally in a motion that we voted on so that they can go ahead and start spending money on the beautification and try to hit some projects over the summer, which will also include helping light up and guide to the parking that we've purchased on Divine Street. So bringing that connectivity together. So with that, I move that we commit to the 5 Points Clean and Safety Program $125,000, which this year was to be included in it, which we've already budgeted, I think, for it, or partly. Well, I'll leave that up to the city manager to thing for 5 years.
Per year for 5 years.
$125,000 per year for 5 years.
Second.
All right, discussion. With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickaman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura? Aye. Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye, and that is with the specificity that the city manager be authorized to identify a funding source if it's not already authorized. I remember us having that same discussion, Daniel.
We had
so
it with a list of
I
stuff
remember.
that we were working on.
I remember. Okay. All right, and this Black Expo?
Next one is the same thing. When we had the list of funding, Black Expo was put in for 25. However, there were some questions regarding the new direction, so we held it and we asked Mr. Thomas to come and make a presentation. He did, and then we discussed it again. However, we've never made a formal motion and did not discover it until, of course, Black Expo's next week. And when Mr. Thomas called Ms. Fanning to get his money, there was no money found. So I make the motion that we allocate the $25,000 that we discussed for Black Expo, the 2019 Black Expo.
Second.
Any discussion?
Second.
All right, and again, you're authorizing, requesting the city manager to fund the funding source? All right. All right. Moved and seconded. With the previous question.
Mr. Rickaman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
And if I could say, I know we've talked about it a couple times, and I know Mr. Duval has put forth a couple kind of suggestions, and we don't usually get to it around budget, but we really need to kind of resolve this hospitality, some of the groups like 5 Points, like Black Expo, that typically go through the committee, and the committee doesn't fund them because council has done so. And we've talked about looking at it through a tiered system or some kind of funding, but I'd like for us to try and get that resolved this year, because it seems like we have this, every year something kind of happens, and I would like to be able to at least have something set on what we're going to do.
Well, to my colleagues who want to defer 100% to the committee, we either need to defer 100% or not.
I don't think we ought to defer 100% to the committee. I think the council needs to take charge of some of these.
Y'all get mighty flexible when you want to. Mayor votes aye.
I think the
Votes
committee
aye.
should get more money every year. I mean, I think, the way we look at it, maybe we should offer a percentage for the committee, a percentage for line items, and of course, we're gonna have to have a percentage for debt pay. I think if we can divide that up every year equally somehow, it would be beneficial for the committee and everybody else, because the pot will keep on increasing.
Mayor.
Yes, sir, Ms. Davis.
I don't know that the issue right now is that the committee needs more money. I think we still need to take a closer look at how those decisions and why they're made as far as allocating to different groups, because we still know that the smaller groups, the not-so-popular groups, get nothing. If anything, they get peanuts. So I'm for taking a look at the recommendations that we came up with, Howard, to whether we call it a tier or whatever, we do that first and see how that goes. Of course, we don't necessarily dictate how much money goes in the pot. It's based on revenues coming in, but I think we need to take a look at that process
I'll
first.
dust off the proposal.
Please don't. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. Item number 53.
Wait a minute.
Oh, you done? I'm sorry.
No, I disagree with you. I think we ought to take a look at that.
Well, he's not saying no,
He said not tonight.
I'm sorry that I started it. I just,
Not
let's
tonight,
talk
but we will revisit it. You agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always open. The committee does yeoman's work. That but for their service, we would never be able to work our way through this process. And they do the vast majority of the work. I think we should always maintain that council maintains the latitude to meet some important needs that we see. If it's clear that there are consistent efforts that will not run the gauntlet of the committee process that we think is valuable to the long-term health, safety, vibrancy of the city, then we need to make a commitment to making that funding request. Some have crossed that threshold and become line items. Some have not yet, but we can make this decision, and decisions change prospectively. I'm always open for those discussions, but I'm always open for those discussions, just not tonight.
I just wanted to know when in the future you wanted us to bring it to you as a whole, or
if you want to, it's something that's recommend. It's something that recognizes staff recommendations, funding realities, some real input from Ms. Fanning and her committee and others. I mean, I don't want anything from any one of our individual council members. I want something that influence, that has everyone's influence coming from the committee, without a request for more money.
And just one final clarification, Mr. Rickman, the 125 or 5 Points Association would start this fiscal year and move forward, right? We're not going back.
At this point, we've missed it.
Let's look at next fiscal year. Let's make it easier. Let's make it easier and look at July 1 money. It'd make life a lot easier for everyone, I would think.
Is that agreeable?
Would you like me restate the motion?
No.
No, I just want to clarify. Your motion's fine. You said 125,000 per year for 5 years. I wanted to make sure when you're starting.
July 1 money. Yeah. Let's look at July 1 money.
July 1st.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Anderson. Apologies, Madam City Manager.
Yes, sir. This is the proposed closure of the Vista Recycling Center, Mr. Robert Anderson, Public Works, and then after this item, Mr. Anderson will also assist Mr. Bedora with an explanation of the Millwood Avenue traffic calming measures.
Good evening. Samantha's going to pass out a few pictures real quick. A lot of people don't know, but
Hello,
our
my dear.
last remaining drop-off center for recycling is located in the Vista.
No.
Down in behind the Memorial, or up around Memorial Park. Over the last several years, what we're experiencing is what you're seeing in pictures right here. The contamination rate is just completely out of control. People are using this for an open dumping ground. We've tracked people from upwards in the 10,000 block of Two Notch Road, Casey, West Columbia, St. Andrews area. So what we're doing is we're wanting to request that we close this with, we'd put a 30-day notice up, and then we would work with any businesses in the area that want to continue to recycle. We would recycle at the end of 30 days. We would just take the fence down.
Robert, aren't most of the buildings down there and everybody already have recycling?
Yeah.
There's very few businesses that are using that now.
I agree, it's been turned into a dump.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. McDowell, second by Mr. Rickman. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rickman.
Aye.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Bedora.
C.
Mr. Vine. I got that. Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Any items considered during the work session?
We have
Yeah,
one
so
more.
one more item,
One-
Mayor.
We had one more?
No, one more,
Okay.
the
Yes.
Millwood Avenue traffic calming.
Mr. Bedura.
Oh, Lordy. Well, this is not a secret. I think it's been out in the paper and the news and everywhere else. I think DOT has, just to give history for what I'm talking about, that DOT has done a study about Millwood Boulevard or Avenue about calming devices for traffic to the accident or some of the casualties we had in the past few years. And I think they came up with some proposals. The fastest or the more economical way to slow traffic down for pedestrian is to install hawk signal. And with that, I think that Ed and I were talking about ways to improve that safety for pedestrian. And we like to support that or make that a motion that if, with blessings of the city manager and of course Robert Anderson and the traffic engineer, if we can maybe install, I don't know how you're going to make the motion, but we support the motion of a hawk signal on Millwood Avenue.
So what they've done is they've done the pedestrian study, and they found the counts for pedestrians are that warrant a hawk signal at that location. There's a lot that went into their presentation, and I won't bore you with the details, even though they were very interesting. And that's about the percentage of the people that would use a hawk signal or push the button based on the numbers. And they found that number to be very high. So they are proposing a hawk signal. There are some other proposals that would come later as we complete the studies, but they would like to install the hawk signal sooner than later. DOT would fund most of the hawk signal with parts that they have laying around. They made a control cabinet or something we have around. And we would put 2 poles in, do the locates, put the hawk signal in, activate it. Once it's activated, we would assume maintenance responsibilities through our agreement with SCDOT.
Excuse my ignorance, what is a hawk signal?
Hawk signal
We have on
is
Taylor Street.
Pedestrian activated
plant.
stop
Like the one on
light.
Taylor Street.
Pedestrian
Press it.
activated stoplight.
Put your button in, it
Press it,
stops
and
the
then-
light. Yeah.
Chicken plant.
Yeah, but you're talking about the crosswalk going to the liquor store.
Somewhere down there.
That's correct.
Going
They're
to the
wanting to
other side.
install.
I mean, that's the only way
Going to the
landlords
other
can
side of
know.
the street.
The other side of the street.
The hawk signal would be located
It's on the liquor
there on
store
Millwood
side,
Avenue.
but it's on the other side of the street.
So I'll make a motion to support that.
That's like playing Frogger when you're going across.
We've seen the videos.
It is, yeah.
So I'll make the motion to support that recommendation made by DOT and Robert Anderson to improve the hawk signal on Millwood Avenue as soon as possible.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bedura, seconded by Mr. McDowell. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call a roll.
Mr. Rickman.
Aye.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Bedora.
Aye.
Mr. Vine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, I was just going to say, Councilwoman Teresiona kind of talked, and I talked about this as well, but when I guess when the county's committee or something talked about this, there was a lot of discussion about, what's the city going to do? How's the city going to participate? So can we just make sure that that we send something saying council approved us making this contribution, so it's no mistake that we have contributed to traffic calming in that area?
Maybe Chris Trainer can help us with that message.
Is Chris here? Or he's watching online?
He's right there. He's over there.
Where is he? Oh, I haven't seen
Fly
you
on
all
the
day.
wall.
All right. So consistent with our previous discussions about just pushing that information to citizens, we can actually target folks who just live in that neighborhood for starters.
There were no matters discussed during the work session that need to be considered, Mayor. However, there is the one referral to the Public Safety Committee regarding the installation of speed humps, the installation policy.
All right.
On what was that?
Speed humps.
Speed hump.
Speed hump. I have a referral to the public safety also.
As do I. All right. So,
So we'll have a
let's-
meeting on the next meeting date that we have available.
Yeah. So let's see if we can take them all at one
Yeah.
time. So developing a policy on the installation of speed humps.
I'm sorry.
I think there'll be 3 references to the Public Safety Committee. We can do them in, Madam Clerk, if you prefer, individually or at one.
What's the date? 27th?
I'm trying to look. 21st, our next meeting?
Next meeting day.
Yeah.
Motion.
Let's do it that morning.
There's a motion. Whose motion is speed humps? Yours, Daniel? Speed humps. Mr. Badura?
That was a recommendation
No,
from,
that's a ma-
We staffed.
Staff.
We were trying to clean up a
So
discussion.
moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rickman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. Mr. Duval.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to refer a noise ordinance to the Public Safety Committee. The legal department and CPD have been working on a noise ordinance for over a year now, and it's ready for prime time. So I'd like the committee to look at it and bring it back to council.
Is there a motion? There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rickman?
aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Know
Mr.
anything about
Badura?
it.
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. All right. And lastly,
Can we get an advance copy of the
Yes, let's
memo that's been in the works for a long, long,
who's
long
public-
time?
This is Sam, Daniel. Who else is public safety?
Rickman.
Reverend McDowell?
The Rev. Yeah. I think all the noise is coming from his neighborhood. I think so. I'm not sure he wants to. All right. And lastly, I want to come and present before the committee to discuss. We've had, of course, a number of different improvements already, I might add, and recommendations, proposed or state statutes, as well as actions by our TNCs, 5 Points, our hospitality districts, university. Everyone's really stepping up, and of course, our CPD is doing great work. But still want us to discuss some innovations and improvements as to how we do it ride shares in Columbia, and want to come before the Public Safety Committee to discuss some of those thoughts.
We can schedule you in 2020, sir.
2020?
Please add that to the agenda.
There's a
Mayor.
motion.
December 31st, 2020?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, with the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. Any other reports or referrals from committee? Ms. Devine?
Just a report, not from a committee, but I did want to report that Councilman Davis and myself did make the trip last week to D.C. to meet with our congressional delegation, as well as the Department of Transportation. I felt like we had some really good meetings. Our delegation pretty much was unanimously in support of most of the requests that we had, or at least to support the requests that we had, and as well as our meeting with the Department of Transportation. It was mainly to develop a relationship, but they were very supportive on helping us try and locate some funding, Mr. Rickman, for the railroad items that we had concerned, and actually directed us to some grants and pots of money that they have that will be coming available. So we felt it was a productive meeting, but I think that Mr. Davis and I would agree, and he can add that one thing that we discussed is that we need to do this on a more regular basis. I mean, it was very good to talk to the staff members, and particularly Senator Graham's staff mentioned that although we know our members of Congress and we see them while they're here in the district, sometimes things get lost in translation when it gets to staff, especially the staff in Washington that don't interact with us on a regular basis. And they were very grateful that we came and further explained our projects and our requests. So I think that we need to look at least twice a year if we can and do that and make sure that we keep those relationships going and that we're providing them the information that they need.
I agree. One thing that was obvious is that although we were there to make them aware of needs and asking for help, the staff were, and I think in all cases, aware of what our issues and problems are and where they think we might need some help. So other communication going to them has helped. So by the time we got there, they've had some time to think about how they might be able to assist or how they might partner with us in those subject matters. So, and I agree, we should do it more. If no more than 2 times, we need to do it twice a year.
All right. The council, there are no citizens who signed up to speak. The council has previously noticed items still for discussion on the executive session agenda. So entertain a motion to return to executive session and let the public notice we will not be returning to full council meeting afterwards. All right, moved and probably second. Discussion. Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rickman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Badura?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Happy Mother's Day, Ms. Devon.
Thank you. Happy
And
Mother's
all
Day
the mothers.
Happy Mother's Day to you and all of you.
Thank you.
What's up, brother?